A major shakeup tonight at Boeing after a string of scary incidents involving the aircraft. The company's CEO announcing today he will step down.
China's government has reportedly ordered its domestic airlines to stop accepting deliveries of Boeing jets and to halt purchases of aircraft parts from the U.S.
Overnight machinists at Boeing here in St. Louis are operating without a contract agreement.
Workers have voted down a recent offer, and the current agreement expired at midnight.
Boeing is facing one of the most turbulent moments in its modern history, and the consequences are spreading far beyond a single company. A wave of unsettling aircraft incidents has shaken confidence, and now the shock is reaching leadership, labor, global trade, and politics all at once. Late today, Boeing confirmed that its chief executive will step down, a decision that followed months of scrutiny and mounting pressure. The announcement came as fresh headlines revealed that China's government has reportedly instructed its domestic airlines to stop accepting deliveries of Boeing aircraft and halt purchases of U.S.-made aircraft parts.
Beijing is now reportedly ordering its local carriers to pause all incoming deliveries of American-made Boeing aircraft in deals worth billions of dollars.
The move sent immediate ripples through global markets and raised new concerns about Boeing's future in one of the world's most critical aviation markets. At the same time, tensions inside the United States are escalating. In St. Louis, Boeing machinists are now working without a contract after voting down a proposed labor agreement. Their previous deal expired at midnight, leaving workers uncertain about wages, job security, and the company's long-term direction. From factory floors to union halls, anxiety is growing. By morning, the fallout had spread even further. Across Washington, corporate offices and manufacturing hubs woke up to headlines that felt like a sudden shift in the weather. Canadian aerospace companies, long seen as secondary players in Boeing's supply chain, had secured multi-billion-dollar contracts on American soil. The news landed hard. Executives scrambled to assess the damage. Competitors watched closely. Workers from Seattle to Wichita began asking the same question: what does this mean for our jobs? This moment did not arrive out of nowhere. Behind the scenes, Canadian firms spent years strengthening relationships, refining their strategies, and positioning themselves for an opening. While much of the U.S. aerospace industry focused inward, those companies prepared quietly. Now the shock is spreading through supply chains that keep the aviation industry alive, raising fears of financial pressure, restructuring, and possible cutbacks. For many observers, the question is no longer what happened, but how it happened. For months, Donald Trump projected confidence from rally stages and televised appearances. He promised that his tariff agenda would secure the future of American aerospace and protect workers tied to Boeing and its massive supplier network. From the Midwest to the Southeast, he repeated a familiar message: global competition would no longer undercut American jobs. Canada was frequently mentioned as a past beneficiary of trade rules that, in Trump's view, disadvantaged U.S. labor. His promise was clear. America First would place domestic workers at the center of industrial policy. For families whose livelihoods depend on aircraft orders and long production cycles, that message carried real weight. In 2024, those promises hardened into policy. The White House rolled out sweeping tariffs on imported aircraft components, describing them as a protective wall designed to preserve jobs, stabilize wages, and encourage companies to deepen their roots in the United States. Officials argued that domestic production would expand and supply chains would shorten, giving American factories an edge in a volatile global market. For many workers, the reassurance mattered. In aerospace towns, a single corporate decision can determine whether a community thrives or struggles. Boeing's health isn't abstract. It affects thousands of households whose financial security depends on predictable demand and long-term contracts. That sense of certainty fractured when news broke from Ottawa. Canada announced that its aerospace sector had secured a series of supply and service agreements once considered beyond reach. Backed by public investment and carefully aligned partnerships, Canadian firms landed responsibilities covering fuselage assembly, avionics integration, and long-term maintenance programs valued in the billions. These agreements are expected to anchor major work programs in Quebec and Ontario for years to come. According to sources familiar with the negotiations, this work will not be centered in Seattle or St. Louis, where expansion had long been anticipated. Instead, it will strengthen Canada's manufacturing base. From Boeing's perspective, the choice reflected financial logic. The move offered a way to manage costs, avoid tariff exposure, and secure dependable production capacity outside the United States. But in Washington, the reaction was swift and intense. An industry long treated as a symbol of American industrial strength appeared to be redirecting core activity to a neighboring country. Donald Trump voiced his anger publicly, describing the development as a betrayal of American workers and signaling that retaliation could still be on the table. Analysts following the situation say this goes far beyond routine corporate restructuring. High-value aerospace contracts carry more than immediate revenue. They bring knowledge transfer, sustained investment, and specialized employment that can shape regional power for decades. The timing could not be more sensitive. As the 2025 election cycle accelerates, scrutiny of trade policy is intensifying. Trump's campaign has leaned heavily on pledges to defend American industry and reverse manufacturing losses. Yet the headlines now challenge that narrative directly. Only days earlier, a rally speech in Michigan framed America's industrial future as secure from foreign influence. That claim collided with images of Canadian leaders celebrating aerospace gains. In Montreal, officials stood alongside engineers and technicians, presenting the projects as proof that Canada can compete at a global level. Those scenes spread quickly online, fueling pride north of the border and deepening unease among American workers. In regions still scarred by factory closures, Boeing's decision reopened old wounds. Economists warn that thousands of American jobs could gradually migrate north as Canada locks in long-term agreements that attract capital and innovation. Labor unions reacted sharply, arguing that workers who built the foundation of the industry are now facing the consequences of policies meant to protect them. Many analysts point to unintended effects. Tariffs designed to safeguard employment may have introduced uncertainty instead. Seeking predictable costs and stable planning, Boeing found Canada willing to offer favorable conditions without the trade barriers complicating operations in the United States. The political fallout continues to widen. Democrats argue the episode shows how rigid trade strategies can backfire in a globalized economy. Some Republicans, especially those representing aerospace-heavy districts, are quietly concerned about voter backlash if investment continues to shift abroad. Beyond North America, competitors are watching closely. Rivals see potential openings as Boeing restructures under trade pressure. Contracts once assumed secure could be back in play. For American workers, the anxiety is deeply personal. A move to Canada today could encourage similar decisions tomorrow. Across industries, companies may conclude that supply chain stability is better protected elsewhere if trade policies remain unpredictable. For Canada, the moment is being framed as a breakthrough. Officials describe it as validation of years of planning aimed at strengthening advanced manufacturing. Billions in contracts are expected to flow into major cities, bringing research investment, skilled jobs, and global talent. For the United States, the questions are harder. Has a strategy meant to protect industry instead weakened it? And can confidence be restored before more ground is lost? As global markets watch closely, Boeing's decision may mark a defining chapter in North American industrial relations, one that reshapes not just supply chains, but political promises and worker trust for years to come.